Alright, we already made it to our final lesson. And in this lesson we will take another big step. We will have a look at the numbers of 1000 and beyond. You will not only learn the multiples of 1000, but also the German term for 1 million and even for 1 billion. So let's go! Let's start where we left off in our last lesson. As we already learned, the number 1000 in German is called 1000 or 1000. 1000. And in order to get the multiples of 1000 or 1000 in German, we do the same thing as we did with the multiples of 100. We simply add the German term for the digits before 1000 and then we add 1000, which means 1000. That way we can translate numbers like 2000, which in German would be 2000, 2000, 10,000, which in German would be 10,000, 10,000, and even numbers like 45,000, which in German would be 45,000. 45 means 45 and 1000 means 1000. And by the way, if you're wondering why there is a dot between the 2 and the 3 zeros or between the 10 and the 3 zeros, that is something pretty normal in German orthography. While in English orthography we would set a comma here, in German we use a dot. On the other hand, everywhere where we would use a dot in English, in German orthography we use a comma. And you will see that later. For now, let's just summarize that the dot is just there to make a number easier to read. And it is used every 3 digits. That means it is also used between the thousands and the digits after the 1000. So for example, in the case of 100,000, we have a dot between 100 and 1000. And in the case of 250,000, we have a dot between 250 and 1000. Alright, so let's translate those two numbers into German. In the case of 100,000, we first start with 100, which in German would be 100 or 100. And then again we add 1000, which means 1000. So 100,000 would be 100,000 or 100,000. And in the case of 250,000, we do the same thing. We start with 250, in German 250, 200, 200, 50, 50, 250, and then we add 1000, 1000. So the whole number would be 250,000. And we can use the same structure for all multiples of 1000 until we reach 1 million, or in German, eine Million. Eine Million. And as you can see in orthography, we have another dot here. So we have a dot between the 1 at the beginning and the 3 zeros in the middle, and another dot between the 3 zeros in the middle and the 3 zeros at the end. So we have 2 dots here. So 1 million in German would be eine Million. Let's have a look at some more complicated numbers. And we'll start with a number that basically has 2 names. As a normal number, it would be 1982. Or in German, 1982. 1000, 1000, 900, 900, 82, 82, 1982. But there's also a different possibility. If you're looking for the year 1982 or 1982, just like in English, where the number would no longer be 1982 but 1982, in German we change from 1982 into 1982. 1900 means 1900, 19, 19, 100, 100, 1900, 1900, and 82 remains 82, 1982, 1982. If on the other hand we have the year 2022, in German that would either be 2022, 2022, or 2022, 2022, 2000, 2000, 22, 22, 2022. But now let's have a look at 2 even more difficult examples. Let's try to translate the following number into German. We have the number 12,412. Here we start with the multiple of 1000, in this case 12,000, in German 12,000, 12,000. Then we add 400, in German 400, 400, and then we add 12, in German 12. So the whole number would be 12,412. 12,412. 12,412. Alright, are you up for a real challenge? This time we want to translate the number 772,691 into German. Just like in the examples before, we first start with the multiple of 1000, in this case 772,000, or in German 772,000. 772,000, 772,000. Then we move on with the multiple of 100, in this case 600, or in German 600. 600. And then all that's left is 91, or in German 91. So if we put it all together, we have 772,691. 772,772,691. 691. So as you can see, even in those more difficult examples, the structure is always the same. And if you know the basics, so the numbers between 1 and 100, it is all fairly easy. Now, finally, let's move on with some even bigger numbers. As we've already seen, 1 million in German is called eine Million. Eine Million, and in German it is abbreviated with MIO. So 20 MIO would be 20 Millionen or 20 million. 20 Millionen. Be careful here because the plural of Million or million is Millionen, so with EN at the end. 20 Millionen, 20 million. But apart from that, everything remains the same. And that's even the same for numbers with a dot in the middle, or in German with a comma in the middle. As I already mentioned, everywhere where in English orthography we would use a dot to separate two numbers, in German we use a comma and vice versa. So if, for example, we have 15.3 million, in German we would translate that into 15,3 Millionen. 15 means 15, comma means comma, but in this case comma stands for point, because in German orthography we use a comma instead of a point or dot. And then we have 3 million, Millionen, 15,3 Millionen, 15.3 million. And that way you can easily get all of the multiples of 1 million in German. But let's go even one step bigger. The next step after million, so 1,000 million, would be 1 billion, or in German eine Milliarde. Eine Milliarde. Be careful here, because in German there's also a number called eine Billion, but that number means 1 trillion. So if you want to translate 1 billion, that would be eine Milliarde, and if you want to translate 1 trillion, that would be eine Billion. So Milliarde always means billion. And if, for example, you have the number 200 billion, in German that would be 200 Milliarden. 200 Milliarden. So as you can see, just like with Million, in the plural, so if you have multiple billions, you add the ending en and you have Milliarden. 200 Milliarden. And as you can also see in this example, Milliarden in German is always abbreviated with MRD. So MIO is Millionen, so million, and MRD is Milliarden, so billion. So 1000 means 1000, Million means million, and Milliarde means billion. Alright. Of course we could go even larger than that, but in reality you will barely ever need to use larger numbers than this. In 99.9% of all cases, you now know all of the German numbers that you need. Congratulations, Glückwunsch! This has been a lot of numbers, but I hope I was able to make it a little easier for you and that you enjoyed learning the most important numbers in German. Of course, you can always come back to all of the lessons in this course, and it's also always a good idea to take a look at the additional material. Alright, we have now arrived at the end of this course. Congratulations, Glückwunsch! By now, you should feel much more confident about the numbers in German. But this doesn't need to be the end of your journey. If you want to learn more about other topics and aspects of the German language, then feel free to also check out my other courses here on this platform. I've got courses on many different topics and I would be really happy to be able to welcome you there once again. Apart from that, I want to use this opportunity to thank you for enrolling and for your active participation. Thank you for sticking to this course all up until the end, and as I already mentioned, I would be really happy to see you in one of my other courses as well. Danke, thank you. Take care and until next time. Bis zum nächsten Mal, dein Luca.